Anthony Hartwig
Let me
here with
turn my
our first
volume up here.
football coaches corner here with Lisbon's brand new head coach, Bill Meek. Bill, thank you so much for taking the time to join us, and I'm sure you're excited about this season being right around the corner.
Yeah, it's been a lot of fun so far. It's been hot. It's been really hot for the kids this year so far, but they're working really hard.
Yeah, hotter than most summers in Northeast Ohio, that's for sure.
Coach Salimas and I were just talking recently the other day and trying to think back when it's been this hot, this early. And
Right.
we think it's been maybe in the 80s. The late 80s was the last time it was this hot.
One of the things I want to start off with, I know this is your first year with Lisbon, but still a very positive season that this team and these players had last year. What kind of things are you trying to take from the group that's returning and the core players that are returning from last year and try to build on the success that they did have?
Yeah, well, I mean, we have quite a few kids back that started last year and contributed significantly, and they found that way to win in football, and they found out what it took. One of the things that I'm really happy with is we have 1,000-pound weightlifting club, and last season we had one kid in that club, Marcus Miller, who's our big offensive and defensive lineman. He's the strongest kid on the team, and one of the stronger kids I've coached in a long time. And he was a kid last year that was in that 1,000-pound club, and this year, through a lot of hard work in the weight room, we have 6 in that club now. So that's been something that I think the winning and the culture change that we're trying to make about strength and conditioning and how important that is in the game of football has paid off for us this year. Now, we're not where we need to be yet, but that takes time. You don't just get really strong in 1 year. It takes a lot of years of work in the weight room.
Now, I want to also kind of venture into the Meet the Team segment and talk about, the players that you have that people have to keep an eye on and some of the players that you're so excited to be coaching this year.
Lost you there for a minute.
We're going to go into a Meet the Team segment. I want you to go over kind of not your whole roster. I know you have a lot of kids in the team, but the big names, the big stars that are going to be coming out and the kids we need to keep an eye on this year.
Yeah, I mean, we'll start with that kid I just talked about, Marcus Miller. I mean, he'll be a junior. He's a 3-year starter coming into this year. He starts at offensive tackle and defensive end, and he bench pressed 350 pounds this year as his final max, and he just does everything we ask of him. He's a strong kid. Of course, our big senior tight end, Luke Kraft, is back. He's 6'4", 6'5", big body. He also plays outside linebacker for us, and he's a big target on offense. So he's a 3 or 4 year starter on the offense and defensive side of the ball as a senior. And then, of course, our tailback. Our tailback's a special kid. He's a big, strong, fast kid that really has dedicated his life to football, and that's Ashton Hinchcliffe. He's about a 200-pounder, 6 foot tall, and when people see him and look at his body, they just can't believe that he's only a junior in high school. So, those are our big kids that are coming back, but we have a lot of other kids that started as well. On both sides of the ball, one side of the ball, and our offensive line is we have several guys back that started last year, and that's going to be a big key for us. The offensive line, the tight end, and the tailback carrying our load for a while because our skill was very young. We lost last year in graduation a lot of really talented skill kids. So these young kids that are stepping into those roles are also talented, but they're young. And the biggest thing that I've been proud of these kids is we've been going a while. And in this heat that we mentioned, they have really, really pushed through. Yesterday was extremely humid, and we were out there, and I was looking at them, and towards about the last half hour of practice, I looked at the kids and I said, "Wow, they're really beat." And I told them I'm proud of them. I said, "We have about 30 minutes to go here, and we really need you to push through." And they did that. And if we can continue to do that every day and just get a little bit better every day, then hopefully we're going to get to where we need to be.
Sometimes youth isn't a bad thing. Talk about what you've seen out of these young kids that kind of gives you confidence that they're going to go into this season and they're going to make these impacts on the positions that you have, the youth you talked about.
Well, there's a lot of them. I mean, almost every skill kid minus our tailback is a young kid. We moved Colt Tullis, our offensive guard last year. He's now our fullback because we're in the I. And, he started last year on the line. We have Grant Minor at quarterback. He's a sophomore, a kid that works extremely hard and throws a nice football and has some legs. So, those two kids in the backfield have done a really nice job. Then out at our wide receiver positions, we have 3 sophomores. We have Zyler Mundy, who's our Z receiver, and then Brady Lively, who's our X receiver, and then Wyatt Newbold, who's our ZB back receiver. All sophomores, all talent, but just green. They haven't had playing experience. And then you go to the other side of the ball in that secondary, and there's a lot of young kids back there too. I mean, you got the Newbold kid, you got the Lively kid, and then you have at the safety positions you have the Mundy boy, and we have Aiden Myers who will be a junior working at safety back there, and then a newcomer at senior, Timmy Brandon back there working at that safety as well.
I'm sure for a first-year head coach like yourself, you see the youth and it kind of excites you because you have these kids for a couple of years to build and to work with. What does that do for you, knowing that you're going to do everything you can this year, but you also get that core as a coach for a couple of years ahead as well?
Yeah. I mean, that is very exciting. I mean, we have a very small senior class this year. We have Luke, who I mentioned, Kraft, and then Wyatt Yost plays an offensive tackle for us, and then DJ Schreffler, who's playing both sides of the ball a little bit for us, and Timmy Brandon, this new kid, and there's a couple other seniors in there that haven't played before, but they've come out and they're trying. But that core team's going to come back. But we're not talking about next year. We're talking about this year. And, I think we're going to be a competitive team week in and week out. And if we can do that, if these young kids can get their legs under them and be able to, do what we're asking them to do, and we can lean on those experienced kids early, then we'll be in good shape. One of the other concerns that we have, and it's all small schools, it seems like, from what I'm hearing with numbers are way down. Now we're sitting about 32 on a roster rate, but when you have a roster that small, and some of the kids just aren't ready to play varsity football, you really worry about, your health. That's going to be a big key to this season. If we stay healthy, I think we'll be competitive with just about anybody we play. If we get the injury bug and we get guys banged up, then that's a whole new ball game. And then we have to start really, really putting our minds to work and trying to find something that'll work, that we can put a competitive team on the field.
Let's talk about the schedule that's going to be in front of you, the teams that are going to be in the way of all the success that you want to have. We'll start with the EOAC. We always know it's a hard-nosed football conference. What kind of things are you seeing out of it, and what do you expect in your first year in that conference for yourself?
Out of the EOAC, I know most of those guys that coach in the league. I mean, it's a well-coached, pretty much veteran-coached league. So we know we're getting well-coached, going up against well-coached opponents. When you start looking at it, who we have to circle and who we have to look at. I'm being honest with you here. Every game we play this year is going to be a battle. We have to take 1 week at a time. I mean, there's some really talented teams in the league. There's, Valley Christian has lost 3 seniors last year, and we beat them in a close game last year, so they got a lot back. United is a bigger school, very well coached team, and Columbiana I know has got a lot of speed. When you play Bob Spate, you better be ready to play because his kids all play hard. Now, you take a look further down, Southern Local. I mean, nobody gets out of their kids than Rich Ray. I mean, his kids are bought into the weight room. They lift. They play very hard for him. You could just go on down week after week. Wellsville has a ton of great athletes. Coach Aldermore's back over there. He's a coaching family guy at Latonia. So, and then last but not least, my alma mater, East Palestine. I know they're really excited about this year. They got a lot of kids back that have played a lot of years, and I think they've really bought in over there, and that's going to be a really big game for us as well. So I just named every team in the league, and it's going to be a tough conference. Who's going to win it? I would think the team that stays the healthiest and it gets better every week. That's who's going to win the league.
And then the non-league schedule, the teams that you're going to use to get ready for that tough EOAC. What do you got in the first 3 weeks?
Well, the first game of the season we play Wyndham, and it's been a little bit deceiving the last 2 years. This is the last year we're going to play them, and we've beaten them the last 2 years. And I don't remember a team that has had an injury bug like Wyndham has had the last 2 years so early in the season. They have 14 seniors coming back on this team. Last year, a lot of those kids, including their big fullback, Jake I, the coach's son, he was hurt, and there were a bunch of other guys hurt. So Wyndham, the first game of the season, is going to be a really stiff test for us. And it should show us where we stand and how much we've progressed with these young kids. Secondly, we go up to Fairport Harbor, which is a drive. We beat them down here last year 14-7. And, so you got to make that tough drive up there and play up there on Lake Erie. And, that should be a really good game too. And then the third game we play Waterloo, who beat us last year. It was a weird game, and I don't think we played to our potential, but it doesn't matter. If you don't play to your potential, you're going to lose. And they beat us up there in Waterloo last year. So every game for us on our schedule is going to be a tough out, and it's going to be a tough game to play. We just got to take care of Lisbon and get ready for each opponent. We got a really good coaching staff. I'm really proud of the staff we've put together. So that should help us get the kids coached up and get them ready to play, both physically and mentally prepared to play it week in and week out.
Coach, you gave us a perfect segue as if you're a professional at this, because we wanted to ask you about your staff before you let you go, the people that you've put behind you in the positions to help you. We know head coaches don't do that alone. So talk about your staff and who you have with you.
Well, I can't start without talking about my guy, and that's Coach Jim Salimas. I was his offensive coordinator here when he was the head coach at Lisbon for many years. And, he's on our school board here in Lisbon, and he loves Lisbon. And, a very, very close, good, dear friend of mine. And he left Carrollton last year. The drive was a little bit too much for him, driving down there where he had success. And, he came on the school board. And when I got the job, he's the first guy I called. So he's doing our offense. And, man, how lucky am I to have a guy that just was voted into the Ohio High School Football Coaches Association Hall of Fame as my offensive coordinator. And you know what? He's doing it for free. He can't get paid because he's on the school board. And he's there every day and putting in the time. The kids love him. He's an old school coach, kind of like myself. And it's a lot of fun. Now the rest of the staff is almost all guys that I've coached. at Lisbon in the past. And that's been probably the thrill for me, other than the kids, is getting to coach with kids that, well, they're not kids no more, men that I coached when they were kids. And it starts with our defensive coordinator, Seth Davis, who was here as the DC last year. And I got to work with him and watch these young guys coach. And, you know, Seth does a great job. He's a high energy guy and puts in a lot of time. And you can go on down the list of all the coaches that we have. And adding to that paid staff, we have some other volunteers. You know, Mr. Bing, Kyle Bing, who I coached with here years ago, is an administrator here at the school, and he's helping out with our quarterbacks on our pass game. Charles Bell, who was a defensive coordinator here before, is going to come in and help during the season. And last but not least, I got to put a little note out about my dad. My dad's the reason I'm sitting here today as a coach. And, you know, he's 3 years old and probably the best X and O coach I've ever met. And he's going to help us out, you know, once the season gets going. So we got a very veteran staff with tons of experience, but we also have that mix of paid coaches that are young and hungry and trying to learn the game. And I just can't say enough about our staff. We have a lot of fun. It's enjoyable. We enjoy each other's company and spending time together and working all with the same, you know, idea of trying to get these kids ready to play what I feel is the greatest team sport that exists in high school football.
Coach, we are so excited for the season. We're excited to see what Lisbon has to offer this year. I think it's going to be an exciting season for all you guys. We wish you the best of luck this year. Thank you for your time and giving us a solid preview, and we look forward to talking to you real soon.
Hey, thank you, and thank you to YSN for everything you do. I just want to throw this out. You know, we had an exchange student in our house this past year, and she was in Sweden, and she was so excited to be able to know that when she went back that she was going to be able to watch the games on YSN. You guys do a great service to our community here in Columbiana County.
Love to hear that. We'll look for the views from Sweden and your games this year. All right.
Thank you very much.
Maybe we'll teach our broadcasters some Swedish so they can give some shout outs.
There we go. Thanks a lot.
You got it.